you learn about thyroid and everything that I have to share. So if you can, do join on video, and it's completely okay. I'm sure that part of that won't be recorded. So if you can, do join on video call. Sunita, let me know when we can start, okay? So you just give me a heads up and then I will start. And how many of you have recently been diagnosed with thyroid, hypothyroidism, or hypothyroidism? If you don't feel like unmuting yourself and talking, you can reply on chat. I would like to know how many of you are already diagnosed with hypothyroidism. If you're on medications, if you've taken anything for the... Okay, so someone has hypothyroidism. Okay. Anything else that you've been on? Okay, you've been on medication. Just type in what medication you've been on, how many years you've been on this medication, and what's your experience with this particular medication for a long time. Okay, 100 mg, Theranom. All right, go on medication. Okay, cool. Just keep typing what you've what was the first thing that doctors have given you once you got diagnosed, or have you been to a doctor if it's been more than 6 months for your thyroid? I just want to know how much knowledge you have. Okay, so no medication as of now. Very good. I'm really glad you're not on medication, Aditya. Great. What else have you guys tried so far? This is a session where I will be helping you reverse it without the use of medication. And if you are on medication, I will help you decrease the intensity of medication over the period of a couple of months. And then you will be able to be medication free for your thyroid. It is something that's reversed naturally and can be treated better. As much as people say that once you get on thyroid medication, you have to depend on it for the rest of your life, that's not the case. There are a lot of studies that show that if you treat your health, which is of course the root cause of your hypothyroidism or hypothyroidism, you can get better. This is for men and for women. Although men don't generally get thyroid very easily, it's very commonly seen. It used to be very common in women in their 40s. They used to get hyperthyroidism. But now, with the lifestyle and the stress and the day-to-day work of everybody's life, I have seen that there's a huge increase in hypothyroidism for most of the women out there. So we will be discussing those things. Awesome. All right. Just one last cue to ask if all of you can join on video so that I can see your faces and communicate with you. And if you can, just do join in. It'll be really great. And if not, it's fine. But yeah, awesome. So for the people who, this is all about being interactive. So I'm going to take it as if you guys don't know what thyroid is, what thyroid hormone does, what exactly happens with it. All right. So this is how I'm going to go about it. So to begin with, it's the gist of the agenda of the session is to understand what thyroid's function is in your body, how to recognize if you have any imbalances or if you do have issues with the thyroid and you haven't really gotten tested. The next thing will be how to holistically approach this to remove thyroid from your day-to-day life, all right, which means you don't need to depend on medication, and understanding how to treat food as your medicine, all right. So to begin with, why is thyroid so important? Thyroid, not many people know, but is directly responsible for your metabolism of your body and your food, which means that when you Google what is my calorie for the day or what is my calorie burn for a day, if you're trying to lose weight, it is so important that you understand if your thyroid gland is doing okay or not, all right? If your thyroid is either inactive or overactive, then it will affect your metabolism, and hence it's very important. Next would be your heart rate, which affects the way you feel. It could be anxiety. It could be the way you work out. It could be how your heartbeat changes when you climb a flight of stairs, right? So these things also vary when your thyroid is affected. And most important of all, it affects all the other hormones. It's one of the king hormones, as we call it, and it affects the insulin levels, which is also the blood glucose levels in your body, which is responsible for diabetes and metabolic issues that happen in your body. Next is cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which is I would say, common in everybody these days because of the work life that we have. And of course, reproductive hormones for men and for women. And it's very crucial for us to understand what to work on. And if you do have hypothyroidism, if your thyroid levels are not okay, if your thyroid is not active the way it should be, you will see fatigue in your body. So if you're someone who has suddenly been feeling very tired for the last couple of months, then it could be that your thyroid levels are not okay. And of course, mood swings and being angry very instantly or breaking down very often could also be a sign of thyroid. All right. Now, understanding what thyroid really is, there are three hormones that are very important for this. All right. So the first one is T3. Second one is T4, and third one is TSH. These are the three things that you will ideally see in your blood test, which will help you understand if you have thyroid issues or not. And at any given point of time, if any of these levels are not normal, it means that your thyroid is triggered. Now, to understand how it even happens, is that your hypothalamus is actually the key reason of it is a ruler of your thyroid. All right. So once you do understand the basics or the root cause, or if you're trying to understand why you even have this issue, it's purely about understanding first your hypothalamus triggers your pituitary gland, and then pituitary gland reversibly talks to your thyroid gland, and then T3 and T4 are released. Now, it's a reversible cycle, right? So if your thyroid gland is saying, listen, I have enough thyroid, then the hypothalamus will tell pituitary gland to stop producing it, right? So this will help your body secrete thyroid. Okay, this is a very science oriented part. I'm sure you don't really need to understand all of this. If you really want to understand the science behind this, it's that hypothalamus controls the pituitary controls the thyroid gland, and then T3 and T4 is present or excreted from the thyroid gland. All right. And yeah, if T3 and T4 are low, pituitary produces more TSH. And if T3 and T4 are high, pituitary produces less of TSH. All right. Now, coming to the blood report and how your blood report should actually look like is, if your blood report is out of this normal range, and even one of it is in out of normal range, that means there is improper action of thyroid happening in your body, meaning that something is not doing great in your body and you need to change that. All right. Now, coming to the next thing, one of the main reasons we even go to get a blood test done would be if we are either gaining weight suddenly, that could be a weight gain of anywhere between 1 to 2 kg in the span of a month, or we're suddenly losing weight. If we have sudden increase or decrease in appetite, if we suddenly start feeling cold in a normal, say you've been living in Bangalore all this while and you suddenly start feeling cold even though it's summer, right? Those kind of changes. If you have a lot of constipation, if you haven't been pooping every day, if you have diarrhea, if you get loosies, and if you have fatigue or high energy level, all of these things are usually the reasons why someone is even advised thyroid test, right? So if you feel that you've been in any of these shoes, if you feel like you have any of the symptoms, for instance, hypothyroidism or hypothyroidism, just give a hand raise. Just tell me if you feel you have hypothyroidism or hypo. Just type hyper or hypo after reading all of these symptoms. I'm going to wait and see. Okay, the show. Hypo. Okay. And 1 or 2 kgs increase in a month. No, it of course, lifestyle does affect thyroid, and thyroid does affect our weight gain. But it, because of the lifestyle that you're leading, your metabolism come down, and that is purely because of thyroid. So that's the reason you gain weight. Even if your lifestyle is really bad, to some extent, you won't gain that much weight that quickly. Okay, Aditya, hypothyroidism. So I don't think anyone here has hyperthyroidism. Am I right? Or does anyone here do? Okay. Anyone has hyper? Just give a shot of, yeah, I'm just going to wait for a second and understand if any of you have hyper. Anyone above the age of 35 here who has hypothyroidism? You have both. Okay. Okay. And someone asked, what is bradycardia? It's slow rated slower than normal heartbeat rate. That you can check if you have an Apple Watch, it will show that your heartbeat is lower than normal. You have a symptom of hypothyroidism and okay, tachycardia. Okay, that is not, I'm not sure it is normal or not. I'll have to probably look into what exactly you're going through, but it could be a mix of both as well. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, now that all of you know what your symptoms may look like, it'll be easier for you to understand what to focus on after the upcoming slides. All right. So to understand this, let's split into the normal, population and how usually thyroid appears in people. Hypothyroidism is very common from the age of 25 to 35 in women and in men, and hyperthyroidism usually comes into women during or before, right before menopause, and for men it happens after the age of 35 to 40. This is the normal category that is now happening. But if you see 10 years ago, hypothyroidism was only and only seen very few cases in women or men in their early age. Thyroid gland was never affected up until the age of, I would say, 35 to 40, when the metabolism directly comes down. But with the lifestyle that we're leading, with the stress that we have, and the food that we eat, thyroid gland is almost immediately affected if your lifestyle has been bad for over a period of 6 months. Okay, this is when hypothyroidism get triggered. And for hypothyroidism, it is still an age factor that comes in, and that's very common in most people. Okay. Now, before I go into the mostly affected population of women who end up having hypothyroidism, I'm going to talk about men, because usually men don't face this issue. And even if they do face, they're not helped with the right causes. And I'm going to talk about the things that actually affect a man when it comes to their thyroid. Okay. Sexual dysfunction is absolutely very, very common in men when they have thyroid. And this is one of the first things that people check for when any couple is trying to conceive. Usually, a woman's blood checkup and scan is done when they're trying to conceive, and it's a very normal thing for a woman to do. But for men, one of the things that are least looked upon now on, but should be looked on, is their TSH levels. If you have hypothyroidism, you will have low libido, which is low sex urge. You have erectile dysfunction, and you have delayed ejaculation and low sperm count, which will directly affect the chances of pregnancy. For a normal cycle, when a woman has a normal period and when a man has a proper sperm count, the chances of pregnancy is 24%. But if you have hypothyroidism as a man, and if your wife has hypothyroidism, the chances drastically come down. Okay, the chances of conceiving then comes down anywhere between 10 to 15%, which is a good decrease, right? So, and when it comes to hypothyroidism, it's the exact opposite. It's premature ejaculation, reduced semen quality, and erectile dysfunction. And when I talk about both of these things, it is very, very harmful when it comes to trying for babies, especially because sperm is the sperm is what really matters when it comes to movement to actually help conception and fertilization and then implantation for a woman's body. So I would say really work on that. And when it comes to infertility, like I said, a man's thyroid level really does affect. And since hypothyroidism does affect low sperm count, the number of sperm that actually end up reaching the embryo, the egg, is decreases a lot. And this will also mean that the number of months or cycles of a woman it will take for you to conceive will also increase. And other symptoms, again, it's a similar thing. You will see a decrease in energy level. You will have weight gain issues. You will have low emotional stability in terms of mood swings. You will feel low in terms of energy. And for some men, they do face hair loss as well if they haven't started treating their hypo or hypothyroidism. It is very common for men to see baldness at the age of even 30 if their thyroid gland isn't working well. And for men who don't have the habit of strength training or increasing their muscle mass, they do see weakness in muscle, and the case of tear or sprain happens more often for them. All right. And for hypothyroidism, of course, the same thing. You do end up losing weight, you have higher anxiety, and you feel very uneasy and weak with the basic activities. That could be even if you're walking, even if you're just running the normal kilometers that you could run very easily, that comes down. Basically, your stamina comes down, your energy level comes down. And what you could be doing, what you were comfortable doing, say, a year ago, would feel like a challenge now for you. So if that's the case for you, if you see any of these symptoms, you should get a blood test done. And yes, also you do have male breast enlargements if your TSH is very low. I mean, if you have high levels of hypothyroidism or high levels of hyperthyroidism, both of this does lead to breast enlargement in men. Awesome. Great. Now, moving on to the most commonly affected person in when it comes to thyroid is women. So I'm going to talk about how it affects fertility and PCOS. So it is one of the major reasons thyroid gets affected is hormonal imbalance, which is linked to PCOS, and it's very commonly known. And since I've been working in the same field, PCOS people, women with PCOS do have the tendency to have thyroid disorders if they don't treat their PCOS in the span of a year. If you have been diagnosed with PCOS, say a year ago, and you still haven't taken care of it, you still haven't worked on your lifestyle, then there is a high likely chance that your thyroid gland is also going to stop working the way it should be, and you will face issues of thyroid as well, which is a little more serious than I would say PCOS is. PCOS is in many ways treatable very quickly. You can reverse it in the span of 4 to 5 months. But when it comes to thyroid, it takes anywhere between 5 to 6 months to completely get off of it and not have the chances of getting it back. People with PCOS do have higher levels of androgens and hormonal imbalance, which does directly affect thyroid, right? Now, with hypothyroidism in women, which it directly affects ovulation. How many of you know what ovulation is? I want to just get a small glimpse of how much knowledge is in terms of ovulation. I'm waiting for. How many of you know ovulation? Just give me a yes. Yes, just answer yes. And if you don't know what ovulation is, just say no. Good, 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 cool. Now, one thing that has directly seen in all research papers that I've seen is very common is if you have hypothyroidism, you will find it extremely hard to ovulate. And if you are finding it extremely hard to ovulate, you will find extremely hard to conceive as well. Right. So if you have hypothyroidism, the first plan of action, any doctor or anyone who you're seeking help with will be to treat your hypothyroidism, which is directly linked to your ovulation quality. What happens is if you have low level of thyroid hormones, it will interfere in the process of ovulation, which means, okay, how do we know that it's hard to ovulate based on irregular periods? No. So I will also tell you how you can identify if you are ovulating or not. Now, coming to how it affects your ovulation is during a person's cycle, there is a surge in LH and FSH, which are two female hormones. And when that happens, when your TSH is affected, the surge doesn't happen properly. Meaning, when your egg is covered, your egg starts growing from a follicular phase. So, follicular phase is almost like a egg shell, and the yolk is the egg. Imagine the egg being the yolk. And during the process of your menstruation cycle, when ovulation is about to happen, the follicular layer just breaks apart. But when you have hypothyroidism, this follicular layer does not break, and then it ends up being matured as a cyst. And which is why cysts then goes and stays in the ovaries or in the fallopian tube. And that's why people have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So these cysts are majorly found for people who have thyroid and PCOS. But if you work on your hypothyroidism, if your thyroid hormone starts working properly, then you will see that the ovulation breaks, the follicular layer breaks, and the egg comes out and then is available in the fallopian tube for fertilization. How to identify if you're ovulating or not? There are three things. Number one, you can take an ovulation kit. Ovulation kit is just like a pregnancy kit. You pee on it and it checks if you're ovulating or not, and you can check that for 5 days. If it says that you're ovulating or you're about to ovulate, then you can try conceiving for those 5 days, which means that you're actually not being affected by the thyroid in your body and you're still ovulating. Number two, for a woman, when they are about to ovulate, they will see egg white discharge, which is a sticky white discharge, which is basically a cervical mucus, which gives enough pH for a sperm to enter and not be killed by the acidic environment of a uterus. So that is the second thing. If you have eggy white discharge, that means that you're either likely to start ovulating or you're about to ovulate at the same time. So if you're someone who has eggy white discharge for 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 days, you can try in those phases. If not, if you don't have cervical mucus, then you can try another method, which was something that people used to try before ovulation kit were invented, is body temperature. What happens is, for a woman, every single day her body varies, and on the day of ovulation or the day prior to ovulation, their body increases in a 0.01 to 2 temperature that you can monitor every day in the morning. So if you have an increase in temperature change, that means you're ovulating. If these three signs are not happening, if all these methods you've checked and you don't know if you're ovulating, that means that your ovulation is not happening. Also, people who are on oral contraceptive or metformin or any kind of contraception, you will not be ovulating. What usually happens is, you end up having withdrawal bleeding and your body doesn't ovulate. So if you are on contraception or you're on OC pills or any of those sorts, you will have to stop to understand if you're ovulating or not. And in terms of irregular periods, even if your cycle is anywhere between 28 to 40 days, you will ovulate and you will be able to see these changes anywhere between 14th to 18th day. That's usually the date at which you will be ovulating. I'm sorry. That's usually the time that you will be ovulating on, and you will be able to understand if that's the place you're able to ovulate or not. This is something that I wouldn't ask you to worry about immediately unless you're trying to conceive. But if you are worried about things as this, I will help you. You can just DM me to understand if you're ovulating or not. But these three methodologies are usually used by people in order to understand if they're ovulating or not. But it is very common for people to see a lack of ovulation, especially when it comes to hypothyroidism. I've seen a lot of people struggle with having the access or ability to conceive, and more often than later, many people don't check it. And even though a woman is usually blamed for the fact of not being able to conceive, there are higher chances for the man also to be affected by thyroid. So if you or your family or anyone around you is trying to conceive in the near future, please get your thyroid level checked. I think 10-15 years ago, this was not at all common in our parents' generation or even elder to them. Thyroid was one among the hormones that were only affected after the age of 35 to 40. But since the rushing lifestyle has happened, it's very common for all of us to go through this. So if you or anyone is trying, you can check your thyroid levels. And in case your thyroid levels are high, which I will tell you what is high, because I think that's more to do. If your thyroid levels are high, try to get them in control and then try to conceive, because what really happens is, if you do have hypothyroidism or hypothyroidism, you will not be ovulating, and that will just demotivate you if you're not able to get pregnant. So I don't want that for you. So if you or your partner, male or female, both of you, either of you have thyroid, treat that first and then try to conceive, which will give you more mental peace, understanding that you're in the best, healthiest form of yourself. All right. Any questions so far before I go on? I think I've spoken a lot. I want to know if you guys have any questions so far related to your health, related to thyroid so far. Anything, whatever comes to your head. I have irregular cycle, 50 to 60s. I recently took a thyroid test. Yes. So Ayushi, I'm going to be talking about the diet and lifestyle changes now after this. And your irregular period, I'm glad that your T4, TSH, and T3 are not affected. But you could have other hormonal imbalances. I know being a woman is really hard, but there are other hormonal imbalances that you could be facing. And don't worry, if you're able to change your lifestyle for the next couple of weeks, you will be fine, and you will start getting your period regularly. And also remember, there is a lot of myth about your period having to be within this date of 28 to 35 days. That's not the case. Anywhere between any time of the year, you should be getting 8 periods a year. That's a normal cycle. So your cycle could be anywhere from 28, once in 28 days, to anywhere to 40 days. And it's a normal cycle. So don't worry, I will help you on that. Any other question, anything else that you guys want to ask me before I go on to the next thing? Okay, I'm going to give, okay, my periods are regular, but have reduced to 1 to 2 days from 4 days. Normal. So, okay, fatigue can happen due to beta the thyroid issue. Okay, very good question. One of the reasons why thyroid does get yes, one of the main reasons that thyroid does get affected, and I'm glad one of you asked about B12, is if your B12 and your D levels are low, and I'm telling like extremely low, then start taking supplements for vitamin, both of the B12 and D3, and wait for 3 months and then check your thyroid level. Most likely, your thyroid should be back to normal. This is something that most people don't know, and our bodies are very, very, even though we live in a country like India, where we do get enough sun and we're probably burning right now, even during the days, we don't get enough vitamin D, and B12 is more towards foods. So both the things, if they are highly deficit, which I've seen in most, if you are deficit in B12 and D3, take supplement, wait for 3 months, and then get yourself tested. If your thyroid levels are back to normal, then it is just that your deficiency in both of these caused thyroid. But other than that, if you still feel if you still see that the levels are uneven and you do have hypo or hypothyroidism, that means that you have to change your lifestyle. I'm glad Aditya or someone asked about D3 and B12. Awesome. Now let's talk about what you should be doing. And I am a firm believer that you should work on handling your health and your body completely in terms of food. I believe food is medicine. So I'm going to tell you what you can do. And before you tell me, oh no, thyroid can't be managed naturally, I've been doing this for last 3-4 years, and I've been able to help people actually reverse thyroid naturally. So if you trust the process and if you believe that food is actually something that you can change and work on, then listen to what I have to say, and you will be able to reverse your thyroid pretty earlier than you thought you would. All right. Now, yes. So first thing it would be to get a blood test done to understand if you do have these abnormalities or not. If you do have symptoms, just get a blood test done. And number one rule that I want you guys to start implementing today is get a blood test, a whole panel test done every 6 months to understand how your body is doing. More often than later, we might be in a good routine and we might fall off of it and we might not understand what it's done to our body. And I want you to know, always keep your blood in check. And also for women, please get a pelvic scan done every 6 months to understand if your body is doing the right things or not. Holistic approach to handling thyroid. Like I said, I have seen a tremendous change in people when they stop taking their medication or they don't start treating their thyroid with medication. And thyroid, unlike PCOS, has certain foods that you completely need to avoid in the frame of time that you're trying to reverse it. Okay, thyroid is very, very easily affected with the food intake that you have. I'm sorry. And I will, even though it might feel very restrictive, don't think about it as the food that you need to avoid. Rather, think about all the food that you can add into your routine, right? So, yes, foods to help with your thyroid is iodine. I'm sure okay, how many of you know if you use iodized salt at home? What you eat every day, do you think you use iodized salt or not? I want to know this because it's something that I've seen a lot of people not know about. So I want to know if you guys, no idea. Okay, fair enough question, Aditya. Yes, No idea. Okay. Now, when this call gets over, go and see if you're using iodized salt or not. Most of it, 90% of India does use iodized salt, but there are brands that don't give iodized salt as well. And you can check if they're iodized or not. If you are currently consuming iodized salt, you can if consume dairy and seafood. If you're a vegetarian, you don't need to consume that. You can consume dairy, and if you're dairy intolerant, it is not mandatory for you to consume this. You can reach your iodine need of the day or for your body through normal food. If you're eating normal home food and not outside food, it'll be enough for you to manage your iodine levels. How many of you eat outside, like order in food or go out and eat at least 3 meals a week? I'm gonna wait for answers. Just message me how many meals a week you eat outside. I want to see the number of outside meals. Okay, 1, 2, 4 to 5, 3 to 4, 3 to 4. All right, cool. When it comes to eating outside food, you don't have a control over the oil that they put, a lot of ingredients. So when it comes to treating thyroid, I would say refrain from eating outside food as much as possible, as little as 1 or no meals a week outside. I know with the lifestyle that we have, it might sound very privileged to say, oh, don't eat outside. But when you're treating it naturally, I would really like you to avoid outside food, because the ingredients that they put in, we have absolutely zero control of. And I want you to be aware of that. Next thing, how many of you have tried Brazil nuts? Have you guys even heard about it, or you've tried it? Are you consuming it? No. Great. For the people who are consuming it, Rahi, yeah, okay. For the people who are consuming it already, great. Consume 2 Brazil nuts every day, or at least 1. For the people who aren't, try consuming 1 or 2 at the start of your day. So one of the best ways to start your day is consuming sunflower seeds, Brazil nuts, along with chia seeds, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. Just chew on your Brazil nuts and 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon of sunflower seeds every single morning to start your day with. This has good amount of nutrient, and since your gut is almost nearly empty, if you've been fasting for enough number of hours between your dinner and your breakfast, you will have a better absorption of the nutrients of the first food that you eat in the morning. So consume Brazil nuts and sunflower seeds every single morning if you have thyroid problems. And if you have hypothyroidism, do not consume almonds. I have seen that in the phase of reversing thyroid, if you stop consuming almonds, it has shown to heal your body a little quicker. So try not to have almonds, but you can have Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds. All of these are super, super good for you to consume. And you can have them every single day and make it a routine for you to not break. It's almost like the first cup of coffee or tea that you have, right? And yes, I think that's the first thing that I wanted to share. Next thing will be zinc. Zinc is one. Should all the seeds be taken on an empty stomach? Yes. Try to take all these seeds on an empty stomach. Walnuts are also great. If you start your day with fat, that is nuts. I'm not talking about coconut oil or anything. I'm talking about just nuts. That's nuts and seeds. It's the best way to start, because you're basically lining your gut with good amount of fat, which will protect you from insulin spikes through the day, and it'll help. And yes, you can consume all of them together. Certain foods to avoid when it comes to hypothyroidism is almond, cruciferous vegetable. Okay, how many of you know what cruciferous vegetables are? Okay, cruciferous vegetables are cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, bok choy. Just Google for them. Completely avoid that if you have hypothyroidism. Since most of you have hypothyroidism, completely avoid almonds, cruciferous vegetables, rye and barley, wheat. Try to limit it to only twice a week. Raw onions, soy and soy products, which also includes tofu or soy milk. Try to have oats to a lower level, because oats does increase your insulin level, which will affect your thyroid. So limiting oats to once a week is a good option. Completely avoid refined flour products, which is biscuits, rusks, cakes. All of these completely avoid. And you can consume milk, but limit it to say 100 to 200 ml at max per day. And strict no on fenugreek seeds, because it will affect your thyroid hormones immediately if you have hypothyroidism. So do not have fenugreek seeds if you have irregular periods, and if someone has advised you to have fenugreek seeds, and if you have hypothyroidism, please don't have fenugreek seeds. And when it comes, don't have fennel seeds. It does affect thyroid. And fried processed food is to be avoided. Ghee and butter can be, ghee to some extent can be had probably 1 tablespoon a day. If you are someone who puts it on their food, that's okay. But don't have it if you consume more than that every single day. My laptop is, can you guys hear me? 1 second. Sunita, can you hear me? I feel like my laptop froze, so I just want to know. Okay, perfect. Cool.
We can hear it.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give you a list of what to eat and what not to eat. So it's easy for you guys to follow through. I'll, in fact, share a PDF. You can, Sunita will give a number that you can reach out to me, and I'll share the PDF, which will give you an easy list of what to eat. I know I spoke about what not to eat, which is usually the things that I would like you to be mindful of. But there are 10x more things that you can eat. So don't worry. I'm not restricting more of your food. And when it comes to your, tell them. Okay. Yeah, awesome. And then you can consume B12 through food as well. But if you're a vegetarian, it's almost impossible for you to do so. So please take supplements. For anyone who's a vegetarian here and who has thyroid, please start taking B12 supplements. It's almost very, I mean, 80% of the people who have it end up having thyroid. If you don't have B12 in your body, it will lead to thyroid. So please consume that, and always check your levels every 6 months, and consume as much as probiotic rich food as possible, which means consuming curd every single day. At least for the summer that we are going through, you can have buttermilk every single day, and idli, dosa. If you're someone who likes having kimchi, but have radish kimchi because you can't have cruciferous, you can have sauerkraut, again made without the cabbage. Any recommendations on good B12 and vitamin D? There is a brand called Tio 60K that's good for D. B12, I'm not sure. Just ask your doctor as to which you would like to prefer and consume. And paneer, you don't have to make it at home. If you have certain companies do make paneer on their own. If you're living in Bangalore, there is a sweet company, sweet store called Anand Sweets. They make their own paneer, and their paneer is usually very fresh and gets spoiled very easy time. So you know it's not added with preservatives. So you can try that. But other than that, try to completely avoid soy, or at least not too much of it. And certain these things, specifically excessive soy products, cruciferous vegetables, fenugreek seeds, to be completely avoided, because this has complete direct access to affecting your thyroid. So I'll send you the PDF later after the session. But yeah. They do sell it online. They do sell it on Swiggy. So if you can order Anand Paneer. But I'm not promoting any brand, honestly. This is just something I know. And if you know how to make paneer and it's not too much work for you, then you can make it on home. I make my own paneer whenever I feel like, so it's okay for you. But yes. Next thing. How many of you exercise? And be very honest with me, and do not call walking exercising. How many of you actually do physical activity other than walking? No. Okay. Go on. I just want to wait for everyone else to respond. And if you do exercise, tell me the form of exercise. It could be yoga, weight training, whatever it is. Okay, lovely. Okay, some of you do, some of you don't. A basic rule for you to implement immediately would be to do 30-minute workouts. Just Google for whichever form, 30-minute yoga workout, 30-minute strengthening workout. I don't say go to the gym and work for an hour, work out for an hour. That's not at all needed. When it comes to thyroid, you shouldn't extremely excessively work out, meaning you shouldn't over work out. Also doesn't mean that you don't move your body at all. So if you're someone who has been working out, great. I'm really happy for you. Continue doing it, but walk as well. Why I emphasize on walking and walking not being an exercise is walking is a bare minimum that you can do. If you're not even walking 100 minutes a day, that means that you're very, very inactive, and that needs to absolutely change. If you're not walking, your insulin levels will, I think in the matter of 3 months, will increase. Your insulin insensitivity will increase. So start walking after meal for at least 15 minutes. And if you're saying, I work at an office, I don't have a space to walk, don't mind, eat your lunch and just go for a walk wherever you can. After each meal, 15-minute walk is a mandatory thing. This will help you at least reach 10K every single day. Also will help you decrease the glucose spike, which will help you heal your body and your thyroid hormone. Next thing, which is I don't know what the answer is going to be, but how many of you have tried meditation or just sitting quietly for a span of 5 minutes every day? Okay. Okay. There is a 10-minute video of meditation. I know that's a big goal for a lot of people. There are 5-minute YouTube videos that I can suggest to you if you would like, that you can just start doing. As soon as you wake up, as soon as you're done brushing and going to the loo, sit in a quiet place. Don't have a rushed morning and just sit and meditate for 5 minutes. This will drastically decrease your stress level, and it will help you with thyroid as well. So if you can implement these things, and I'm not telling you to implement all of this at one go, say on week 1, just week 1 to 3, just fix your food habits and fix your walking. That's all I want you to work on. Week 4 to 5, include 3 exercises a week. That's it. Then week 6 to 10, include 5-minute meditations. I want you to do this gradually. Even if it doesn't help you immediately, it will help you over time. And this will help you with your thyroid in the span of 3 to 4 months, almost immediately, I would say as well. Now, to the most important thing, how many hours of sleep do you guys get? And please tell me what time you go to bed and what time you get up. I want you to tell what time you go to bed and what time you get up. I'll just do the math of sleeping number of hours. Okay. How many of you have a work routine that expects you to stay up after 11 p.m.? Okay. And Shruti and Shiva. Okay, cool. For anyone who has no work routine after the time of 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., I would really like you to start going to bed at 11 or at 10 p.m. max. And why I say this is your circadian rhythm is very much linked to your thyroid. So your thyroid is here, right? If you are stressed, you feel it, this part of your body. Most of us store stress at the neck. So when you see us at work, most of us are like this. And this is how we sit and work, because we never do this to our shoulders, right? Most of us are very stressed and we don't give importance to our sleep. So if you're someone who says, I sleep 8 hours, but I go to bed at 1 a.m., that's not good for you. You need to start going to bed at a reasonable time. And when I say reasonable time, anywhere between 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. is the bare minimum I want you to do. Okay, it's very, very, very important for you to go to bed as early as possible so that you feel better and you are mentally in a good place. If your sleep cycle is better, I'm telling you, even if you're not doing meditation and even if you're not doing exercise every like 3 days a week, you'll be better. If you have hypothyroidism and if you can fix your sleep, you will be able to see a good change in the span of 3 weeks. And go to bed at a reasonable time. And I'm saying 10 p.m. purely because your circadian rhythm needs to be good. And for women, 9 hours of sleep is an ideal time. And for men, 8 hours of sleep is good. I know women need 1 hour more of sleep because more goes on in their body. But according to most of the research, if a woman is able to sleep anywhere between 8 to 9 hours, it's going to help them. It's going to help her in her hormonal cycle, thyroid, memory, everything. And for men, please sleep for 8 hours. Yes. So, I don't know why saying, yeah, you asked me about why 8 hours is not enough, even if you're sleeping late. It is because of the rhythm your body wakes up to, and your body is expected to sleep at a particular time, and that will be the only way your body is synced to your hormonal cycle. For instance, if you're someone who goes to bed at 1 a.m., there is a high chance that you would have eaten something at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Because if you're staying up till 1 p.m., you tend to feel more hungry and you will end up eating more or something, or probably a snack or a chocolate bar or whatever. Say you stop eating your last meal or your last bite at 12 o'clock, right? The next morning, as soon as you wake up, which will probably be at 8 a.m., you will end up eating food, because even though you've slept for 8 hours, you will not feel energetic enough. And if you're sleeping late, you will end up eating more, right? The fasting number of hours between 12 to 8 is 8 hours, and that's not enough for your body to heal. But if you go to bed at 8, there is high likely chance that you're done with your dinner at 9. And even if you get up at 8 or 9 or 7, you still have more number of hours of fasting in your body. So this is usually the reason why this happens. And for night shift workers, I would really, really, really advise you to please focus on at least sleeping in a dark environment for 8 hours, if and going to bed at a reasonable hour in terms of your night shift. If your night shift gets over at 5 a.m., go to bed as soon as you're done with your work and sleep for 8 hours and get up after 8 hours. And make sure it's in a pitch dark environment. It will help you. For a woman, I would say there's a book called Fast Like a Woman. It tells you how to fast and how many hours to fast for during different days of your cycle. So I will suggest that book to you. Fast Like a Girl, I think that's the name. Yeah. 1 second. I think it's not sent to everyone. Yes. So Fast Like a Girl, read this book. If you're a girl and you're trying to fast, this is the best way to start your fasting. It will give you extreme amount of knowledge. And it does also have a little bit info about how to fast and heal your body for thyroid as well. So you can give it a shot. Okay. Now for people who think that these things may work or may not work, or it's too hard to work on, I would say, please, this is a proof that in a period of month, one of the women I was helping in a completely different country, she's an Indian living in States, and she was able to handle her food and bare minimum walking and not even enough amount of exercise. She hadn't even started trying exercise at that point of time, and she was able to see a huge change in thyroid levels in the span of a month. So if you are someone who really, really wants to reverse their thyroid, and you still feel that you're going to give this a shot and try to reverse it naturally, please give it a go, because she's just one example. I have done it for myself, and there are thousands of sisters I've been able to do this for. So, and men as well. I have been able to help men reverse their thyroid levels as well. So if you feel you are in a space where you want to do this naturally and do not depend on medication, give this a go. Like I said, if you have thyroid issues, check your B12 and D3. If you're deficit in both of these, then consume them. Get yourself tested again after 3 months. If your levels are not normal, come back to lifestyle changes that I have suggested here. For a woman, it will take for a woman who has PCOS and thyroid, it will take you anywhere between 3 to 6 months to reverse it naturally, if you're giving even 80% of what I've asked you to do naturally, and you will be fine. For men, I have seen a faster result if they're able to be sticking to their goal and to the routine. You will be able to reverse it in the span of a month or two. And if you are trying to conceive, or if anyone in your family is trying to conceive, or any of your friends are trying to conceive, please ask them to test their TSH levels. It's very, very important, and it will help you understand why you may or may not be trying to conceive. If you're someone who's been trying to conceive for the last 12 months but haven't really checked the TSH, please check. It would really help. Can the reversal still happen even if... Yes, very important question. Yes, you can reverse your thyroid even if you're on medication. What happens is, if you start working on your lifestyle, your dosage of your medication will gradually come down, and at one point you will not need this. So please do that. It will really, really help you. And yeah, I think I've answered most. I mean, I've told whatever I can about thyroid. And this is my own story. I did have hypothyroidism and I have been able to reverse it. And this is what I do as a full-time job. I have my own company where I help sisters with one-on-one jobs. And since you are a member of Plum, you do get a discount of 20%, which I'm not sure if you guys already know about. If you go to your Plum Health app, you will see this, and you can just click here, or you can ask. I think Sunita will share all the links as well. So you can just message me. You will also have my number. You can reach out to me at any given point of time if you want to get started, and I will be happy to help you out. Now, questions. If you guys want to unmute yourself and ask, you can do that. But yeah, I'm open to any questions you guys have.